Boom Mike intern.
Boom Mike intern.
Guys, we've got 4 followers. We can't get an intern.
That's why we get an intern. They're not paid.
Hey, if any of these followers are local, we need a Boom Mike intern. We can probably generate more cool jobs for you to do, but that would be one of them. If that's a deal breaker, you know, you're just not a Boom Mike intern. This guy nowhere. Let's start the show.
We need some BMIs, mate. BMI is the goal. Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast for our first official podcast of the year. We have done a show this year, but it was, of course, a pick show. We're back to break down the action that has happened in the world of UFC and MMA in general. As always, I am Matt.
I'm Josh.
I'm Sylvester.
And we have got UFC Vegas 46, Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze to talk about. A little bit of news as well on the bantamweight division. Henry Cejudo is certainly being very vocal about his desires to return and what division he wants to return into. We will be getting through all of that. There is only one place to start, and as far as UFC Vegas 46 is concerned, it's probably the place that we can finish as well, because the main event was the only real noteworthy thing. What a main event.
Whoa, hang on.
I went there.
Hang on. You guys weren't entertained by Brandon Royval?
I was entertained by it, but I wouldn't say that the fight itself left a huge amount of noteworthy things for me to say, other than I kind of thought Bontarin won that fight.
Yeah, I thought Bontarin won that fight. Fuck it, though. They gave it to Raw Dog. I'm happy. You're not happy, but the rest of the world's happy. I think there was some good fights on this card. It wasn't amazing, but been almost like a month without MMA boys. So not counting Rising. So, you know, it definitely felt good to be back watching the fights. But yeah, the main event was definitely the fucking duel. That was a really fun fucking fight. If not a complete one-sided beatdown.
Well, it was really nice being able to go into that fight, switching between the UFC and the NFL, and just seeing the Patriots get absolutely bum-rushed and demolished at the same time. In fact, before the fight was walking out, I just switched back across to the UFC, and I kind of leaned across the side like, I don't think it's going to be a good night for New England, man. They're getting slaughtered on one side, and I think their man's about to get destroyed. And, hey, listen, for 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 seconds, I thought it was going to be a really bad night for Kattar. Really bad night. Giga came out looking so sharp, but as soon as he missed that kick, everything switched. And I'm very curious to hear both of you guys' thoughts, but my takeaways from this is really more than anything else. This is why you have to see guys fight people in the top 5 before you start talking title fights. And this is why Max and Volks are on a whole different level.
Imagine what Max Holloway would have done to Giga.
Imagine what Volks would have done. Imagine what Max would have done. The level is just crazy. And you forget it. You see these other guys coming through and you think, oh, he could cause a problem, all the rest. But the level of those two above everybody else in the division is absolutely crazy.
What?
UFC nailed this one. They knew that they needed to see more from Giga before they could talk. And real holes being opened up, but only opened up because Calvin Kattar is a tough son of a bitch. Josh, your thoughts, please, on the fight.
Man, I'm really starting to think that the New England cartel specifically train how to like change the momentum and when to like adapt your game plan. It was amazing. Just keeping Giga on the back foot. He was able to just kind of strike and land at will. Really kind of just exhausted Giga. And by round 3, when Giga looked like he was about to kind of like wake up again, you know, he just runs the leg on the single leg attempt, catching a kick, gets into the fence. It's just, there's nothing Giga could do at that point because he was almost just too afraid of failing. He'd come into everything so arrogantly and he was just looking to kind of try and land that like body kick or just really load up on some hooks that Calvin was just coming underneath or just coming straight down the middle before he could land. Every time, nothing mattered. It was beautiful. And I'm really starting to think that what I said in the pick show about how Kattar should be annoyed that they didn't delay the zombie announcement. I don't know that Kattar wouldn't have kind of wanted to slot into that title shot.
Dude, there's no way Kattar could fight in 3 months after that.
He's a madman. He's got a sickness. I don't know. He looks lumped up, but I don't know how superficial it is. He didn't look like. I'm not saying it would have been a good idea, but I imagine Calvin Kattar would probably be thinking, shit, that probably could have been my title shot with Max out.
Maybe. But, I mean, first things first, let's talk Calvin Kattar. This guy is going to have a really rough second half of his life if the rest of his career keeps looking like his last 2 fights. It's like, who was it talking about this? Luke Thomas was saying this. The last 10 rounds of his career have literally been like Dante's Inferno. Like, just plunging down into hell and then just about managing to fucking get your way out by getting a win again. But you had to go through every single fucking realm to pull yourself out of that hell pit. And, I mean, what can you say? I've got so much respect for him. He had, I thought, limited weapons for this fight. I think we all touched on this in the pick show. I didn't think he was going to have enough tools to beat Giga, and it was going to be a different form, but a similar tone to what happened with Max, where he's too tough for his own good, and he doesn't get hit with the same accumulation of shots, but he gets hit with more powerful surgical strikes. And he still got hit with a lot of shots, but he crowded the kicker. He did what, to be fair, I think Josh said was exactly what he needed to do. Close that range, don't allow Giga the space to kick, and tire him out, basically. Just be an unrelenting force in front of his face at all times.
It was that Rob Font mentality of, I'm just going to steal momentum anytime you attempt to rally. Every time I see that fire in your eye, I'm just going to dash it out again. That's what I thought he was going to have to do to win. I didn't know he could do it like that. Like, that is seriously impressive. Like you say, Giga is, pretty much untested against the elite in MMA. Obviously, he's got his kickboxing resume. We had to see this test. And, yeah, shit, man. Fucking Kattar just put it on him. This was nice.
He really did. Interestingly enough, though, it was not a skillful performance from Kattar. You don't look at it and say that things were crisp or sharp. There wasn't footwork there of a high level. Even defensively, there wasn't a lot of slipping.
Well, I think, maybe not as much as you'd like, but he dodged a lot of like his hits, and he also, at one point, he was just blocking a lot. Like, I saw him block a lot.
Yeah, he took a lot on the guard.
Yeah.
This is why I think a lot of the damage might just be superficial. He took a lot on the guard. He did get under quite a few of them and inside a few of them. And there was a few times when Giga connected that, he already had Calvin's fist squarely in his face. So I really don't know how kind of unbalanced and loaded up when it connects on Kattar. But
in terms of kicks, there was no head kicks. None of the head kicks actually landed. From what I've saw, all of them were blocked. He only got him Giga only got him on the body. On. Yeah, like he
had the early leg kicks as well, but you never know with leg kicks.
Also, the leg kicks faded out after the second round because that first 2 minutes of the first round, Giga, it was what we saw with the Edson Barbosa fight. Just he has the distance, he has the range, he has the timing. He's picking him apart early on. I didn't think the fight was going to get out of the first round for about a minute and a half. I just thought he's getting hit too clean. It's too easy. And then obviously the moment he misses that kick and ends up on the ground, everything changes. But to be honest, I think cardio really showed to be an issue as well. Like, once he couldn't fight at his pace, he seemed to get tired very, very quickly. And to kind of sort of counterpose the thing I was saying about, I did think that Calvin Kattar was getting hit a lot. I do also wonder, after the third round, I don't think there was a lot left in the tank for Giga. Like, I'm not saying that his shots didn't have something behind them, but I don't think it was that same kind of explosive, snappy kind of...
Yeah,
halfway through the second...
Rafael Cordero said after the second round, just work the jab until you've got your win back. Or not your win, but like however you say, essentially it was just like, just keep jabbing until you're back in the fight. Because
that was after the first round, eh?
Second round.
After the second, because then it was in the third round, he actually made that concerted effort to really kind of come back into the fight. And then Kattar just changed it up a little bit, and good night, Vienna.
Well, also the thing is, after the first round, Cordero Giga's probably thinking, "Hey, man, I looked great until I slept. Just get back out there." And then it's the second round where he's just a little more tired, and all of a sudden, this distance that was here, all of a sudden, catered here all the time. Yeah. And you can't set the kicks, you can't set all these other things up. And how about that spinning elbow? I mean, he went to the
there was a lot of beautiful counter shots. There was the back fist as well. It was beautiful. It reminds me of something a kid I used to play football with always used to say. I don't know where he was quoting it from, but like, all the skill and technique in the world amounts to fuck all when you're tired. And you've nailed it. Giga past that second round just looked like a tired man, just hoping and praying to God he was just going to get given some stupid opening that was never going to appear. It was misery.
Well, to touch on that as well, one thing I thought that Bisping and Dominic Cruz did a good job in the commentary booth of picking up was that his footwork after round 3 just went completely out the toilet. He wasn't setting his feet correctly.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Well, he was setting it nicely if he was then going to attack. It's almost like he was instinctively trying to maintain the distance he usually would in like the first round of a 3-round fight. But yeah, if you kind of start backing up, go to make that that kick, don't do it, don't take that opportunity. You've just sort of stalled. You've wasted time, you're frozen, and now he's closing, and now your footwork is. But I think it's more like a combination of like instincts when your game's on point, not being what you need in terms of your footwork when you're tired and have to be more defensive and opportunistic. And it was just, put him in a lot of bad spots.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you think there was an element of ego and pride that led to the way that Giga performed as well? Not to say that it still wouldn't have gone down the way it did, but do you think that in the way that he has been sort of talking before this, talking about the title shot, all the rest, do you think it made it harder for him to adjust to things when they didn't initially go his way?
Yeah, I mean, Giga Chikadze probably is good enough to beat Calvin Kattar on the right night. Calvin Kattar had a really good performance, a huge, very necessary bounce back from the Max Holloway fight. It was really interesting to see how that was going to affect him, and apparently just made him better. You know, Max does that to people. You know, he was teaching Ortega how to fight mid-fight, and you know, he's taught a lot to Calvin Kattar, and God bless him for it. But yeah, Chikadze, he was talking shit about Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie makes one innocuous comment or one innocuous little tweet after this, and Chikadze's going off on him about how he's like a sore fucking loser and stuff. Yeah, he is all over the shop. He's like a Georgian McGregor right now. But yeah, you're right. This is all ego and pride and just not having a plan B and everything going to shit real fucking quick.
What did Chikadze have to say after the fight for it?
Well, he didn't do any of the immediate post-fight presses because they both got rushed to hospital. Initially, it seemed very respectful. I mean, he took a picture at the hospital with Calvin with, you know, respect written underneath. But I don't think he's got any issues with the results or with it.
Well, he did then also put on his Instagram something along the lines of, I beat this guy 9 times out of 10. It's just that tonight was like the 10th time. It's like, well, the guy beat you real fucking bad. You sure you can't find it in your heart to say that might be a 5 and 5? Because he fucking put a whooping on you.
But also, it's all well and good saying that you beat him 9 times out of 10, but you didn't.
Yeah, and then you lost. Yeah, you just lost 5 rounds out of 5.
Because also, it's not just in terms of that. It's like if you talk to fighters, and Michael Bisping talks about this a lot. There are guys at MMA gyms that you see them train, and you cannot believe that they are not a world champion. They are just they're destroying everyone. They're destroying top-rated fighters, and they look unbeatable. But then you find out that they aren't even a pro anymore. They tried to go pro, and their record was something like 2 and 5 or something, because they couldn't perform when they needed to. And that's so much of the sport. That's in every single sport. You know, Tom Brady is not the best quarterback play in and play out, although he's very good. The reason why he's so good is because it's in those clutch moments that he pulls it off. It's the same with every single top player.
Who's that basketball player? Curry?
Steph Curry.
Oh, fucking hell, man. The amount of 3-pointers that guy's put on the buzzer is insane. Like insane. I was watching replays of how many times he's put a fucking 3-pointer to win the game on the buzzer. Like, and you're just like, how do you have that mental thickness to know that you're going to shoot from that distance and put that ball in that basket on that moment with that pressure every time? It's yeah, as you say, some athletes are able to do it every time, or most of the time, where some people just fail.
Every sport, man, team sports, solo sports, tennis. How many times have you wondered why a footballer is still at your team's club and the manager comes out every time and says he looks great in training? He probably fucking does, but it's about getting it right when you need to. And listen, it's fights, man. These things happen. Giga doesn't slip. Maybe it's a whole different story, but he did slip and he didn't have a plan for it. And you can't be fighting for a world title in a division as deep as featherweight if you don't have an ability to handle somebody putting pressure on you. That is a fundamental, particularly when you look at who the fighters in this division are. Like the two guys at the top, their bread and butter is being able to put on huge amounts of pressure with Max, and then obviously the feints and then the wrestling threat mixed in with very polished striking with Volkanovski. If you can't deal with pressure or wrestling, you're not going to become a world champion right now.
No, and he's going to get a good test because assuming that the Korean Zombie comes up short against Volk, I think they're going to do Chikadze against Chan Sung Jung. That would be the perfect fight for me. And that's just going to be a ton of pressure.
That would be a great fight. For Calvin, I'd like to see the Ortega fight.
Yeah, that just kind of makes sense right now. Like, it just sort of has to be done. Jesus, I don't want to ever count out one of these like cartel guys because they're fucking real, but I've got to think Ortega does it, right? Ortega should be able to submit Calvin KO.
Well, here's the thing. Is Calvin Kattar going to out-tough Ortega? If he does, it's by 1%. Does he have better boxing? Yeah. But Ortega's boxing looked pretty damn good against the Zombie. It's just that against Volkanovski, he didn't have as stationary a target. Is that going to be an issue with Kattar? Probably not. Does Kattar have the same jiu-jitsu threat? Does he have the ability just to take the fight to a different level and completely be levels ahead of his opponent? No.
I have a feeling that's a bit different. I'm going like just because I have a favourite in the top 15. In March, Edson Barbosa will fight Bryce Mitchell, and I believe that Bryce Mitchell is going to win this fight pretty easily.
That's a tough test for Bryce.
Yeah, it is a tough test, but I mean, this guy's. I was just checking his record to see if I wasn't wrong, but he's really solid. He's come back from a long injury, hasn't he? He had some problems or something. That's why he didn't fight. He wins against Barbosa. He's on something like a 7-win streak or something, 6 or 7 win streak. So he's going to be fighting, I'm guessing, in the top 5 next. They're not going to keep putting him in like step by step. So
yeah,
division though, man.
Well, no, like here's how I see it playing out. Like I think because you've got Bryce Mitchell coming up, Leah Topuria's fighting somebody soon. You've got Arnold Allen. I wonder if they give all 3 of these guys another kind of lower ranked opponent just to keep building up the win streak while the top of the division sorts itself out.
Do you not see a Chikadze against Bryce Mitchell?
I don't think Allen needs that build-up fight as much as Bryce and...
No, for Allen, it's just a case of time.
Yeah.
It would be stupid to give Allen a fight against another star in the making or a bigger name while the top of the division is still kind of just shaking itself out. We're going to have the Zombie fight. Presumably after that, we're going to have Volk Holloway. And then presumably after that, we're going to have the winner fighting the winner of Ortega against Kattar.
Wait, who's Holloway fighting?
Probably.
Holloway's just
I assume that when he's back, I assume he'll just go back into a title shot when he's ready.
I don't put it this. If I'm the UFC, this is what I'm thinking. I don't expect that they think Volkanovski is going to come out of the Zombie fight with the largest amounts of damage. If I'm honest.
I don't know about that. But
I think one of the reasons Cejudo, we'll get to the Cejudo, but I think the Max situation is one of the reasons that they didn't want to put Cejudo in. And if I'm a promoter, I like the zombie. He can sell, but he's also a fairly safe defense on paper. And really, if you're trying to build the trilogy with Max and Volks, and that's the fight that you really want to happen. Yeah, I can see we'll get to it when we talk about that. But for the moment, let's move off Kattar and Chikadze, other than just to say fair play, because like you say, to be out for a year after taking the beating that he took, come back and be willing to throw himself straight back into the fire is pretty damn impressive. And the fact that he looks better and he won against an absolute hype train, full respect to the guy. It may even be enough to hold off the pain of him having to go home and see the Patriots lose. But for Giga, he recovers, he comes back, he trains, he's got great coaching. You know, he will correct things. He's new in this sport. I'm going to be honest, because I was switching between the UFC and the NFL, I completely missed the Jake Collier Chase Sherman fight.
I'm going to be honest, because I was sat with Matt, and Matt decided that he wasn't going to watch the heavyweight fight because he thought it might be really boring. I didn't get to see it either.
I thought it was going to be boring.
I
thought we
got
could tune back in like 5 minutes in and everything would be fine.
It wasn't that bad. Jake Collier did not look as podgy at 264 as he did. I can't remember what he weighed in last time. I can't remember if it was at the limit, but you know, Jake Collier did look a bit more filled out. Chase Sherman was doing okay. He did catch Collier at one point. Collier managed to get him down off a court kick. He was kind of going for the body kick a few times, went back to the well, just kind of signposted it, could have taken down, and he landed a couple of really nasty elbows to Chase. Collier did when he had him in mount, and it kind of looked like he'd fucking rattled him, if I'm honest. I haven't heard Chase kind of talk about the finishing sequence at all, but he gives up his back and ends up kind of giving up a rear naked choke without actually really defending. Jay Collier was as surprised as anyone that he got the sub, but he was pretty happy with it. Onwards and upwards. I think Justin Taffer called him out and they asked him about it in the interview. Taffer tweeted like, yeah, I'll get that fight, or put like the hand up emoji, some shit like that. So I think Collier Taffer's going to be happening next. Collier had a pretty funny part in line. He was like, only if he makes weight. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, short fight, not a great performance from Sherman. And I think that might be the end of his second stint in the UFC, if I'm honest.
Yeah, if you're losing to... Listen, Jay Collier, when we say he should be a middleweight, we're not just saying
I've changed my mind now. He can stay at heavyweight.
He was a fucking middleweight in decent shape. And then he just completely let his shit go. And all of a sudden, he's fucking massive. It's John Vellante, but with 2 weight divisions.
Well, he looked a bit undersized at light heavy and just looked fat as fuck at heavyweight. But I've got to be honest, man, he's looking pretty big. Like, doesn't need to be a 264. He could probably come in at like a very agile 240, but he's looking pretty big. I did wonder if Sherman was going to worry with that, just because of the combination of movement and size. Sherman really needs a fucking plodder in front of him if he's going to do anything exciting. And yeah, he's a very cuttable guy. I like him, but he's a very cuttable guy. Just more of the same from the Vanilla Gorilla.
Shit happens. Let's move away from this because I didn't see it, and neither of these guys deserve too much shine. But fair play for Jake Collier for winning. Brandon Royval against Rogerio Bontorin. We've already touched on this one a little bit, but this was given over. This was activity over position more than anything else.
I think they were given points for creativity. That's my best guess.
He needs it, man. Royval needs it. That would have been 3.
Look, if he shores up some of the lack of defense in the stand-up game, if he understands how to be a bit more opportunistic and a little less reckless, he is a fucking threat. But he's got a bit of Tim Elliott to him, and it scares all of us. And it's cost him several fights recently. Well, I guess you don't really... Yeah, the collarbone kind of... Was it a collarbone? Broken collarbone?
Collarbone against Brandon shoulder.
Which, to be honest, may have been avoided if he'd been fighting smarter. So
this is what I said in the pick show, man. There's scrambling, and then you haven't quite got the fundamentals right, and you're just trying some crazy stuff. And against lower guys, it's worked. And then when you fought two guys that are just of a much higher level, they're not going to fall for it. They understand how to get themselves in the right position and roll out correctly. Even in this fight, I kind of still came away from it thinking, man, you've got so much to work on, kid. Like, particularly against these guys that have got black belts in jiu-jitsu and know what they're doing on the ground. I think it really creates a kind of issue with some of this wild stuff that's going on. If he fights more strikers, I don't see it being such a problem. But flyweight, it's such a technical weight class. You know, all the guys that are doing well there, they're so technical. They're well-rounded everywhere. And they're all good scramblers. They're all good on the ground. They're all good at rolling and doing these granny shifts to get out of situations. So it's not as new or different as it might be if you're a weight class or two weight classes higher. Listen, I like Royval. Like, for him, I'm glad he's not on 3 on the bounce. I think he's a young, exciting fighter. I think probably he was pushed up a bit earlier for having a couple of wins in the UFC that maybe he should have done because they were exciting. But here's where he is. He's going to get another fighter in the top 10. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the fundamentals are there. It's almost like he just chooses to abandon them for a riskier strategy. He looks at times like a Nick Diaz in the stand-up game, but when Nick Diaz would always know how to land that hook when he needed it, Royval just gets dropped every now and again and springs the fuck up. Although I did love how aggressively he was chasing those submissions. I think, just on the right night, this dude could be in a title shot in a couple of years' time.
Dude, even in the Kattar France fight, he got dropped bad in the fight. It's just that he managed to pop up with a spinning elbow off that and then turn the fight around. But he is hittable, and he is a high risk, high rewards type fighter, both on the stand up and on the ground, and that's what scares me.
Yeah, it's back.
Oh, there he is. You know, it's one thing if you're wild and crazy on the feet, but you know that you can always pull things to the ground and then kind of reassume control. To be completely fucking nuts on both is bold. I don't know if Josh is still on mute. I don't know if the dog's still barking. It looks like he's still barking.
Just went for grab him. It's still working.
It's
just
all right.
stay on mute.
Bontarin's got to be a bit frustrated with his last few fights. He had the overturned decision with Matt Schnell that was a bit weird. He had the fight with Kattar France, who was doing really well, and then got dropped. And Kai did the walk-off, and then looked like he wasn't sure if it was over, so came back in. But from Bontarin's perspective, he's just like, this guy's just knocked me out. And then rather than celebrate, he's decided to run across and try and hit me again. So I feel a bit bad for Bontarin. You know, he'll go back thinking that what was he meant to do to win? He probably feels he did everything he was meant to. Celevi.
His truck coming off. Yeah, he got robbed. I love Raw Dog, but he got robbed.
Moving on to a lady who did not get robbed. I think this pretty much went exactly as we thought. Kenan Chikadze, point fighter, beats pretty much everybody right now who's not named Valentina Shevchenko or Jessica Andrade. And yeah, she beat Mara once. She beat her again. She beat her reasonably comfortably. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't overly exciting. It was very technical. She barely got hit.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad. It was entertaining enough. My fear was this is the kind of fight I would never want to. Yeah, I was thinking I'd never want to see this as a 5-round fight. But to be honest, by the end of the 3rd round, I was like, maybe that was unfair. I could go another 2 on this.
Yeah, I think the issue with Chikadze is that she's so good at fighting these extremely technical fights and beating pretty much everybody that I don't know how much preparation it really gives her to then take that step up.
Yeah.
Apart from Andrade, there's no one else in the top 5 aside from the champ that she can fight that's really gonna present problems she can't answer with that one style. And it kind of, as a result, means that she's not necessarily forced to change or adapt or improve. And then you're going from here to then taking this monumental step up to fight these 2 people in the division. one of whom got absolutely slaughtered by the champion. So apparently it was the last fight on her contract. I see no reason why they don't re-sign her. I think she's well worth the money. I just always worry with Chikadze that she's going to basically be a kind of like placeholder for a number 1 ranked contender or number 2 ranked contender until we get the Alexa Grassos, the Vivian Arujos, the Tyler Santoses moving up and kind of presenting a bit more athleticism that I think would give Chikadze problems. Speaking of which, we got Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Araujo in March now, I believe. Oh no, it was meant to be this weekend. And then Araujo's out, so now Alexa Grasso's fighting Joanne Wood in March. Which is a shame, because I think the Grasso-Araujo fight would have been a lot more competitive. I kind of feel like Joanne Wood's had her time.
You never know. You never know with Jojo.
This is true.
I think everyone's just. I'm just waiting on Tyler Santos to get against some more ranked fighters. To be honest,
Tyler Santos is the one I look at and think you can do it. You could.
Yeah.
The physicality, I think, would be an interesting challenge for Shevchenko, and she's young enough that she might not have to even deal with Shevchenko if she takes her time.
That's a different strategy.
Hey, this is a division where, Shevchenko, she's 33. She's not going to be around forever. Give it 3 years, maybe she's going to not be around.
Yeah, I don't know. If you've got a chance to go against the GOAT.
I don't know if you can say she's the GOAT, but she's definitely the number 1 female fighter in the world right now.
Oh, she's the flyweight GOAT.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Absolutely. She's the GOAT of this division.
I don't think the division's been around long enough to claim GOAT statuses yet.
No, her talent, her ability is enough for her to claim GOAT status in this division.
I think it's enough to make her the best female fighter on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, right, pound for pound, she definitely is.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, let's move on. Last couple of fights on the main card to talk about as I bring them up on my phone, showing that they were not as exciting.
This
this
was
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were... sorry, completely off. Dakota Bush, man got dropped. I don't even know if it's a body shot. That felt like it landed just no liver, just the ribs. And just you could see every single air in his body just shoot out, everything content. You could not breathe, and done. I mean, just absolutely done. Was this the guy that had the awesome ring name?
Yeah, Slava Claus.
Slava Claus, mate. Fucking Christmas came late for Slava Claus.
Yeah, you know why? When he turned up at Team Alpha Male, he had gifts. So he's kind of turned up like, hey, I've just moved to this country. I want to train here. Here's some gifts. So they call him Slava Claus.
That's pretty cool.
Which is even better than just having a good name, having a good reason behind it. Man, Dakota Bush is not a bad fighter. But I think this is 2 losses in a row. And unfortunately, he might have to leave the UFC to prove how good he is. But man, Slava Claus, I'm fucking excited. I'm getting hyped behind this kid.
The guy can hit. Always love a good body shot KO as well. It's just so satisfying. I wouldn't say more satisfying because there's something about watching somebody lose consciousness, but just to see someone just hit, little delay, and then the drop.
So I take it you weren't too hyped up about the Bill Algeo Johansson Brito fight.
Wasn't overly, but in the end, it was a pretty entertaining fight, I thought.
Yeah,
Good action. It wasn't bad, but at this point, I've seen my picks going south fast. Might as well come clean. Did not do well on this card.
I didn't do well on this card. I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 incorrect on the main card alone.
I think I got 4 right total, maybe even just 3.
I'm 2 right so far. I got Bill Algeo right. He made me happy for...
I got 4 right.
It's making me believe in him. I think Sly's having a good.
I don't remember what I took. It's a bit in trouble.
Well, you just decided to be a contrarian. You took Jake Collier. You took Brandon Royval. You took Kattar.
Yeah.
You took Chikadze. You took Slava Claus.
I won then.
You took your Anderson.
Oh yeah, you definitely won.
You definitely won.
Oh, so you got one wrong.
Yeah.
Going down to the.
Well, it's nice to win again, guys. Thank you very much for taking part in picking against me. Always nice to be part of it. I do enjoy taking part, but beating you guys makes the whole taking.
You don't enjoy taking part. You enjoy winning. That's it.
I also got 4 correct total, so not a great effort from me. Let's go through the prelims quickly. Jamie Pickett, he's not good. He wins, but he's just not fucking good. He's a big dude. He's really good at just kind of like pressing you against the cage, but there's nothing else. There's no takedowns. There's no punches. There's no, some of the combinations he threw were just like, literally, the chin's not even up. It's like he's staring up at the ceiling, like he's trying to lean back as he's punching. I'm walking forward, but my head's all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really that bad, but at the end of the day, he did make an absolute meal of having to beat Stariopoli, who is a welterweight, really. So,
the only thing I'll say is that this kid Holmes was really hyped up. He's trained by James Krause. They were talking about him being something special, and I think he had a sort of awkward debut. And I do think that Jamie Pickett he's in your face, he's awkward, he's fucking massive. Like, I bet he's really, really strong and hard to kind of get off you. So that is a difficult thing to kind of deal with, particularly for the low rank guys. But there's nothing, it's not a fun. Watching Jamie Pickett these last few fights, it's not been a fun experience. I've not come away from those fights, enamored to see him fight again.
No, he's not super enjoyable. I mean, it's not bad, but it's still a good stand-up.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
But sometimes poor technique can create good fights.
The other problem is, it's just like you can't. That mustache for Holmes needs to go. It just needs to go. Even just the entry where he's just like, from now on, he will be known here as Ugly Man Joe. You're just like, what a terrible fucking name. But I love the fact that after they said that, they all referred to him as Ugly Man Joe for the rest of the broadcast. And I'm like, more fighters should do that. Do not
like
just
Ian
like...
McCall.
Oh, we're talking about the
mustache and the weirdly long name, Uncle Creepy. Just stupid shit name.
It's all terrible. But I would have had more respect for it if the first time he fought, as they were walking out, he's like, he has told us he will from now on be known as Creepy McCall or something like that. Like, more fighters should do that. No, so none of this, like, sometimes they call you your ring name, all the rest. It's just like, from now on, he is Wonder Boy Thompson. Or from now on, he is Coconut Bombs. How much more fun would a broadcast be if they just I know he's gone, obviously.
Yeah.
But
it's exactly the sort of thing Diego Sanchez would get behind. Plus, he would love changing his name, so.
So he's got a good ring name, Nightmare.
Oh yeah, but then it was the Dream, then it was the Lionheart, then it was the Nightmare again. Then it was.
You're saying that the Dream turned into a Nightmare?
No, the Dream turned into the Lionheart, turned back into the Nightmare. I think I got that right. I don't know if maybe he squeezed Dream in there in between again. And then obviously Joshua Fabian. So, but hey, it's all right because now he gets to fight Kevin Lee at 165. There's no way that's going to end badly for him.
Yeah, that's going to be a great night for him.
I feel bad.
Kevin Lee, yeah. It's not like Kevin Lee's got any kind of like, chip on his shoulder or point to prove or anything like that. It's not like he's making his debut in a new promotion. The style is going to be horrible as well. Like, he will fucking beat Diego. He will take him down and beat him. This will not be pleasant. A couple of Diego's fights at the end of the UFC Anthony Smith said it very well. It's just like they were being real nice to this guy. They were giving him fights, but it was like, Mickey Gall, even if he wins, he's not really going to beat you up that much at this point in his career. Michael Chiesa, yeah, you're going to get out-grappled to shit, mate, but he's not really going to punch you. Even Jake Matthews was a bit like, listen, he's a really nice kid, very technical fighter. He's going to beat you, but he's not really going to have the heart to like go at you in the same kind of way. Kevin Lee is not this human. Kevin Lee has got flames tattooed into his skull. Sorry, say that again.
No, I was going to say, there is a chance Kevin Lee just like chokes him out and shows mercy, but the size difference is going to be insane. It's not going to be as bad as when he fought Michel Pereira, but it's going to be a bit ugly. And I think that Diego Sanchez trying to make 165 is a Diego Sanchez that loses muscle mass and walks around at about 160 and just eats heavy on the day. It's not going to work well. Yeah, fuck it. 165 is going to do well for like Eagle FC. It's a shame that Diego's drawn Kevin Lee here.
It's the best move that they've made.
It's a little mean. It's almost elder abuse. It's kind of how I feel about it.
No, not the fight. The 165 division by Eagle.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Absolute genius. Love that move. Let's talk to a couple of fights that were fun on the prelims. Court McGee, he's still getting it done. 37.
About the years.
Put a beating on Brahimaj. Absolute beating. This guy did not want to be there after 3 minutes, and the poor fucker had to stay there for another 12.
Yeah, man, I said I didn't feel good picking against Court McGee. I should have just pulled the trigger and picked him.
I didn't pick him either, and I feel bad about it, and he proved me wrong.
No, so this was a very aggressive Court McGee as well. I think they're saying his neighbour, like an elderly lady, they're saying he should kind of live up more to his moniker and be a more aggressive guy in there, a more aggressive mindset. And he's just taken that and run with it. Fair play to him.
Also, that's 2 wins in a row, and both of them were against guys most people thought were going to beat him fairly comfortably. So, you know, he's showing some hype trains down.
Yes, Court McGee.
Brian Boone Kelleher. Listen, he was fighting a short notice guy. It's not the person he was meant to fight. Kevin Kroom.
I thought Kroom looked good in the first round.
He showed up. Yeah. He gives it his best. He smokes weed. Cardio's never been his strong suit, even when he's had a full camp. He's had a couple of these short notice fights now in the UFC. And listen, one he won in 29 seconds. The other two, he's gotten tired. Very, very tired. And after a round and a half, the offense isn't there. For a round and a half, he looked good. Obviously, he's a lot bigger naturally than Kelleher, and I think that helped.
I think some of the body work Kelleher put in and some of the shots he landed definitely had an effect as well. I know what you're saying, but I feel bad kind of like judging him for it too much, because even though Kelleher was getting outstruck in the sort of early rounds and the first round and kind of the early going in the second, the shots he was landing were so much more powerful and would definitely having more of an impact on Kroom. But yeah, guy faded hard.
No disrespect to the guy. I was more saying that Kroom I thought did really well considering all the circumstances against him. I don't think you can fault him for getting tired. Under the body shots, the short notice of it, everything. And Kelleher's a good fighter, man. Like, he's not top range by any stretch. And I've seen him just get a little outclassed when he kind of takes that step up. But a lot of these new guys coming in, unranked fighters, he'll beat the vast majority of them.
Yeah, I mean, same as Roy Val. The guy is just a fucking threat. He's got power in his hands. He's got some really nice submissions. And he works really hard. If he's not going to get that guillotine, he's going to use it to sweep or something else, because he knows that they know. You know, it's established at this point and he can play around with it. That's what's really nice about his game.
Also, man, he's active. He fights all the time. All the time. He's fighting 3-4 times a year without fail. And he looks good every time he shows up. Always puts on a show. Love Brian Kelleher. And then, obviously, card started with your man, Charles Rosa. Boston Strong took the fight late notice. He looked good at the end, but he gets so defensive so quickly, Charles. And it's ground defense and submission defense is great, but he's not good enough at changing the position. He's not threatening enough on his feet. He can get wins. Obviously, the streak is broken. It's usually trading wins and losses. This is 2 losses in a row. Love to go see the guy in the promotion. He always gives it his best, but it's just, if you're a Charles Rosa fan, it's frustrating because you see these moments and you know the guy's tough and he's always trying his best, but there needs to be more threat offensively on the ground and standing up.
Yeah, I think TJ Brown definitely got to benefit from Bryce Mitchell having already fought him. I definitely think they would have shared a lot of information about the best way to kind of hold Roycer down and to threaten the submissions on him. Yeah, he was completely outclassed. And TJ Brown finally on a win streak in the UFC. Feel good for the kid.
Look good, TJ Brown.
I saw someone post online Charles Royce was sacrificed because I didn't realize Jake Collier has the same pattern going, and he maintained his streak of wins and losses. So Charles Royce falls so that Jake Collier can persevere. I guess I can live with that.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Rome Total War 2 recently, so I can understand sometimes you have to make a sacrifice to the gods. It's what you learn, particularly as the British tribe. You know, you want to handle things diplomatically. They're not ready for diplomacy in 200 BC. Okay, a hare runs across the field. You have to take that as an omen that you must sacrifice your oldest child to the gods. Simple.
Simple, yeah, simple enough.
Simple
enough. The
enough.
MMA gods are thirsty.
Very true. This was a pretty average card with a couple of good fights up until the main event, which was awesome. And very happy that I watched instead of just committing to the NFL. Going to be honest, though, there was a lot of, particularly in the Bengals Raiders game, I was switching back and forth a lot more. That was a good game. I don't know if you watched it.
No, literally, the only sport I watched this weekend was the UFC, Bournemouth highlights, and the Eagles game. That's it.
Strong choices all around.
Guys, how about Amanda Nunes?
You guys have to catch me up on this because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but you've got me concerned.
Did we not talk about it before the... Oh, I guess I will call. Amanda Nunes has left ATT. She's going to stay in Coconut Creek and she's going to build a gym around her. She's going to build her own gym. I assume she's going to have some maybe coaches from ATT or Black Zillions kind of coming in. Dan Lambert's usually pretty flexible and cool with these things as long as you're not a dickhead about it. And obviously, you're going to have a lot of training partners in the area, having 2 huge gyms like just right there. I said Black Zillions, I meant Sanford MMA. I don't know why I slipped like that. But yeah, and Nunes has left ATT, which I think could be for her a really good thing because everything I'd always hear about her is that there's parts of training that she struggled with was always kind of like other people's schedules and other people's kind of, the way they wanted to set things out. So maybe being able to take more kind of control over her training camp could be a good thing. Could be an awful thing, obviously. But I think for her, it could be a good thing. Some fighters have always kind of done it like this way. And, when you hear them talk about it, it sounds like they don't understand why everyone doesn't do it their way. Big Ben Rothwell. That's what I was trying to think. I think he was one of the early ones.
Okay, so here's my thing. This is either really good or a really bad decision. Everything depends on context, but it's not just is this, because here's the thing, the ATT has got this fantastic reputation, but let's all be honest. They did not have a good 2021.
Well, no, especially not at the end.
Not in the end.
The end of the
not
year was
really.
awful.
I mean, I think Poirier's success propped up a lot, but aside from that, generally, a lot of their top fighters didn't win. A lot of their top fighters didn't perform. A lot of the lower ranked fighters were a little bit middling as well, which you usually expect to see once you go further down the route, that the records become more like a 500. But even so, it wasn't great. And it does make you wonder. The problem with these gyms quite often is they can kind of go through a little bit of a cycle where you open up this gym and you get some really talented coaches in or something in that attracts good fighters and you make them better. And then that attracts more good fighters. And then you win a couple of belts and then everybody wants to train there. You're a gym that wants to make money. So suddenly you open up ATT California, and you have all these other things going on, and you have fighters just coming through, and they're all making you good money. But at a certain point, are you sacrificing the time and attention that you used to be able to give to the few specific fighters who were there? And maybe that was a factor in this. Maybe she felt like you say, it was a bit too regimented. It's fitting you into the schedule. It's okay, you can do this, but you're working with the 20 other people that are doing the, jiu-jitsu class at this point. And it can feel maybe that you don't have that focus specific to what your camp needs to be about. And if you look at like a Valentina Shevchenko, for example, she has her coaches. She's got a head coach who kind of runs everything. But then every single camp is different. Depending on the fighter, they bring in different training partners. They do different things. There's different preparation. So I do think it can work. I do think it could be a good decision. But the other worry is this that panic of, I've had a loss, I'm freaking out, I'm going to fire everybody and just try and figure it out and do it on my own?
Well, what people have said about her is she's at her best when she's kind of happy and comfortable. So I think for her, if she had gone back to Brazil or moved away from the area to try and set up her own team and not deliberately gone to somewhere where there was going to be a ton of high-class coaches and training partners, then I think this is not good. This is just someone just looking to make things as easy as possible and kind of throwing it away a little bit. But the fact that she's staying in America and specifically in Coconut Creek, it really suggests to me that maybe she's just going to start playing towards those strengths, and doing things in a way that she's just really happy and comfortable all the time. Obviously, when I say comfortable, I don't mean not pushing yourself and physically being uncomfortable. I'm talking about being mentally and emotionally comfortable,
I get you. And it does make me wonder with ATT, because she's obviously fired her coaches. Dustin Poirier gave an interview at the start of the year with Teddy Atlas. And one of the things that he said he's kind of reanalyzing this year is trimming all the fat, getting rid of the people that aren't really a help, they're more of a distraction, they're not really offering anything beneficial, and just kind of breaking it back down to the core people. Because when you put some wins together and you become a bigger star, you get all of these extra things that start to kind of come into things a little bit. And I don't think that was maybe the case with Amanda, but I do wonder, like, maybe even her coaches start kind of believing the hype a little bit. Maybe they weren't really preparing her well. Maybe a lot of that negative kind of, oh, I'm just going to overlook, I'm going to go past Julian Pena. Maybe some of that came from the coaches. Maybe there's a lot of, oh, you're just going to destroy this guy. Yeah, you look great, Chan. Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. You're just going to smoke him. Instead of that hard, like, you can do better. Come on, push yourself, or kind of constructive.
I find that hard to believe about the ATT coaches. Although I do wonder what it's like since Dean Thomas left, because that was probably only a couple of years ago.
But you don't. The problem is, though, you don't know. You really don't know, and obviously you don't want to be prisoners of the moment. So you don't want to say, okay, well, they lost these two very high-profile fights at the end of the year, therefore there must be something wrong.
Three
high-profile fights at the end of the year. But equally, they're a big gym. It's always a question mark when, particularly a fighter that went to that gym and then experienced all of this incredible success. I don't know, it's a good or a bad thing. It's not in between. It's not just going to be a minor shift that people don't notice, But what I'd say is that fighters that have left AT&T, Colby Covington's doing pretty well. Other fighters have been able to reinvent themselves at different gyms. But then obviously you've also had fighters that have left AT&T, it's fucking mobile phone company, ATT, and it hasn't gone out well for them. Robbie Lawler very much, although there might be other factors, declined after leaving ATT. Tyron Woodley. What I'd say with, listen, Colby Covington got his title shot again and he didn't look bad, but he looked far better prepared in the first fight with Usman than he did in the second fight with Usman.
Yeah, so he didn't leave, he was kicked out.
So it's a hard one to say. Maybe it is just the right decision for her. It's not good for ATT. It's not what they want. And, I think one of the other issues the gym's had is that they haven't, Who are the big stars at that gym? Well, Joanna didn't fight in 2021. She hasn't fought in close to 2 years. Masvidal fought twice in the last 2 years, and both of those were losses to Usman. And then he's had injuries, and he's got obviously a big fight coming up. Poirier had a couple of great wins, but obviously the Oliveira fight happened, and it happened. So I don't know, but it's going to make her next performance, the next fight, very compelling to see what's different and how she seems to respond.
She should win.
She should, but sometimes somebody just has your number. What I'd say is Juliana Pena did not receive as many punches as Nunes did. Juliana looked battered after that. Her eye was not good. So if Nunes is smarter, I think without a doubt, and I still wonder, deep down, I really wonder whether or not she's had cardio issues since COVID.
Maybe, yeah, that's very possible. She had COVID.
She had it, they didn't rebook the fight for like a month later. It got pushed back 6 months, which makes me think that
she's got issues.
She had it.
You could see it in the fight that she was not doing well.
So that's a factor as well. Who knows? But best of luck to her. Nunes is the GOAT. She's awesome. I'm sure that she will make it a success. But sometimes when you're the boss, it doesn't mean that even if you hire people, they work for you. They might not always want to tell you what they might not want to say what you don't want to hear, but need to hear. So
I figure she's kind of got a wife for that. I figure like Nina's probably going to keep her on point. Nina's never been a lazy fighter. She's always ready. She's always on point. I think it could just be the right thing for her. We'll see, though. It's definitely a risk.
Well, time's going to tell. They're going to book that rematch in the first half of the year, in my opinion. Yeah. Without a doubt. They might let Pena have the belt for 6 months or so, just so that she can have the belt and, get back to Venezuela and all this kind of stuff. But they'll want that fight sooner rather than later. Whether Nunes wants it straight away, that's a different question. She might want to work on some stuff with the new gym. But obviously that then brings into question, what if even if it proves to be a good idea, what if she's really distracted for 4 months setting the gym up?
Could be.
She's got the new baby. A lot of potentially distracting factors.
Yeah, it really depends on how she's kind of left things with ATT and Dan Lambert. Because if it is a case that coaches can go over and train with her and training partners can come over, and it's just she's got to find space and just get the equipment in, it should be pretty smooth. In fact, it may even open her up to work with people from Sanford. I really don't know. It seems like quite a small community there, And other than what they had on the Ultimate Fighter with Jim versus Jim, I don't know how much real animosity there is between the two, especially since it's no longer Black Zillions and it's now very much kind of Henry Hooft and Sanford MMA.
I really doubt they care too much, as long as it doesn't ever feel like a gym poaches people.
Yeah, well, I think they kind of do. Nick Lentz was ATT for the longest time, wasn't he? And now he's a coach at Sanford.
Yeah, but it's people, you might have a word with somebody and say, hey, do you want to come over and do something new? And maybe they do, and maybe you pay them a bit more money. But poaching people is like, that's a really good coach. We're going to sneak up on him. You give him an offer he can't refuse to come over. As long as you're not doing, or that fighter is somebody that we really want to have, we're going to, kind of take him away from you so we can have a success. I think as long as it doesn't feel like it's targeted, they've all got good fighters. They're all making money. You know what I mean? I think it almost becomes a little bit like a sort of oligarchy at that point. They don't mind each other as long as they know there's only just the few that they have to worry about being these super gyms.
Yeah.
It's probably more animus if you're like a small gym with a few good fighters trying to make something. That's probably where you get more kind of like animosity to these bigger gyms. I don't know. I don't go to an MMA gym, but certainly not one with professional fighters. So I can't tell you. What else we got in the news? We touched on it already. Triple C is not happy he didn't get the title shot. Does open up questions about whether he is really retired, because if he's still in the USADA testing pool, he's not really retired. and Dana would know that. If he isn't in the USADA testing pool, he'd have to be in it for 6 months before he could actually fight. So let's just assume that he never really left the USADA testing pool. Therefore, everybody kind of, even in the organization, knows he's probably not retired. I kind of want to see that fight, man. I've said this before. I think Cejudo would have been a good choice. I think the only reason he isn't being considered is because of the fact that they've got Max waiting in the wings. Why? Well, if Cejudo actually beats Volkanovski, you'd have to give Volkanovski the rematch, and then Max is waiting even longer. I don't think they wanted that disruption. Obviously, Josh, you said this before, there's the worry that he would just retire after winning it again.
Yep.
If he was to win.
He would.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't count him out of that fight. I think Volkanovski is the only featherweight in the top 5 where he's just about short enough that Henry could just about be big enough to not just get completely and utterly just fucking swallowed up. And obviously he'd have to deal with somebody much stronger and heavier than him. But the kid's fucking special, man. I didn't think he had a hope in the Moraes fight. That's still one of my all-time favorite performances in any UFC fight. Just the fact that somebody could be so completely dominated in one way and then just completely change their game plan and find a way to win.
Yes, it was a tough performance, but I'm telling you, he's way too small for Volkanovski. Height and reach might be similar, but the actual power, not just in his hands, but his overall explosiveness, his overall functional power. Volkanovski is a fucking beast. And Henry Cejudo is a beast at 25. It's too big a jump. I just don't think it's competitive.
But what if?
Yeah, sure, what if?
But what if?
Fuck
Listen.
Korean Zombie first. We totally forgot about Yair Rodriguez. We were breaking down 45 as well.
Oh, the thing is, he's got the broken foot. He's got the broken foot, so he wouldn't have been able to fight regardless.
Oh no, I know he can't fight, but as we were talking about, like Alan and everyone coming up, broken foot's really only a six week injury, and then probably kind of a couple of weeks of going light, and then you're probably not kicking with it, but you're able to kind of do most things after that. So he's probably going to be fighting in 2022.
Yair Rodriguez, I wouldn't say is coming up. He's the technically ranked 2nd or 3rd or 4th or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of said, like, there's all the guys at the top. We're going to see how that shakes out. You've got all these guys at the bottom. They're probably going to be kind of punching down rather than fighting, amongst themselves. But I think one of them's going to draw Yair Rodriguez because right now he's the odd man out.
Well, listen, you've got Rodriguez, Kattar, Ortega, and Zombie kind of in that mix behind Max and Volks. They're all going to end up they'll be paired up in one way, shape or form. Whether or not that means that you've got Ortega fighting Yair, or Ortega fighting Calvin, or Calvin fighting Yair, or however you want to do it. They're all going to end up getting mixed up with each other some way, shape or form. None of those are bad fights. They're all awesome fights. Featherweight is a really good division right now. Super exciting. But what if you had Cejudo's name in the mix as well? And put it this way, even just to sell it, like, it might be a shit fight, but you could sell it just based on this one question. Will Triple C become C4?
You have to try him out.
Why not give him the Dillashaw rematch at 35 and then let him fight the winner of, let him fight Jan?
There's 2 people
I think 35 makes way more sense.
There's 2 people I want Dillashaw to fight next. I either want him to fight Peter Yan / Aljamain Sterling, but let's be realistic, as the next title shot, or I want to see Dillashaw versus Aldo. Both of those fights are way more intriguing to me than watching him fight Cejudo.
Well, I don't think he does the Cejudo fight right away. I think Dillashaw Aldo, and then let's assume that he isn't retired. If he comes back, I would like to see him at 35 or 25. Probably it's going to be 35, right? Because no one retires and then comes back down to 25. But there's no way we're seeing Cejudo at 45. And if nothing else, because Dana White hates the idea, and I know that his word means nothing, but he really, he hates the idea, and I'm like, yeah, I see why. I'm kind of behind you on this one, big head.
I disagree. I think Cejudo's done enough in the sport to earn the opportunity of doing something crazy. That's what I think. And I don't think the weird thing is that Dana always seemed to have a real appreciation and fondness for Cejudo. Like he never, even when it was meant to be Cejudo versus Aldo, that felt like when that fight was booked before all of this, pandemic crap, or just as the pandemic crap was starting, when they thought people from Brazil could come over. Even that fight being booked was a little strange. Like it felt like that was one where kind of Aldo had just said, "This is who I'm fighting," and the UFC had said, "Yeah, fuck it, we'll give it to you." They don't really do that for a lot of people. Most of the time, it's no, you're fighting this guy because that's who you're going to fight. You don't have a say in this. But with Cejudo, and they did this with Adesanya as well, where they didn't want to do Yoel Romero. He said basically all the matchmakers were screaming at him not to do Yoel Romero versus Izzy. And they ignored it because Izzy was just like, come on, guys, I've never let you down. I've never been in a boring fight. Let's go. And then it was the most boring fight of his career. I love Dana afterwards. He's just like, the matchmakers, he told me, even like 6 months before this ever came up, never to match these two unless literally I have to because he's the contender. Because he said they're two counter strikers that sit back and wait for the other guy to do something. Nothing will happen. Nothing did. Josh, is there any other things in the news to look over?
Shit. I don't think so.
Have a quick look.
I mean, what's the thing about McGregor's pub getting petrol bombed last week? But I forgot to bring it up last week, so I don't really feel like we should bring it up.
I don't really know the details of this one, to be honest. From what I understand, it's petrol bombed. There's a thought that, and there seems to be different theories as to why it happened. Like I've heard people say it's because of the kind of dodgy connections that he's got in Ireland. I've heard other people say that it's just kind of like, not haters, but like just people that just did it because they don't like McGregor and they're like, oh, that's his pub, fuck it. I don't know any of the details really.
It wasn't done very well. So my suspicion is it was just some angry cunt trying to petrol bomb McGregor and not really knowing what they're doing. There was minimal damage. It all kind of was just got a little blaze going outside, I believe. Really nothing to it, but yeah,
maybe it's the old
never
man
out of trouble
that got barred from his local pub for getting punched in the face by a famous person. He then purchased the pub
just to bar him.
Was that in the same pub?
That's the pub he bought.
Black in Forge.
He bought the pub and then barred the guy that he punched in the face.
Do you mean the one that refused the whiskey?
Correct.
Because I thought that was a different pub. This is the pub where he punched that guy who was supposed to be like an enforcer for the Kinahans or something back in the day.
How many fucking people has McGregor punched in the face at a pub?
Off the top of my head, at least 2. This is the one where where he maybe had to make a bit of a financial restitution. But yeah, I didn't realize that guy got. It may well still be the same pub every fucking time, but I didn't realize that poor bastard after everything then basically loses his drinking hole. That's sad. His watering hole, sorry. Yeah,
really kind of so petty as well. And it just makes you look back at when he gave that fucking interview on Ariel Helwani, where he's just like, we really knows he'd fucked up and people were kind of hating on him for this and really turning on him for that action. Just like, that man enjoyed to drink his pint undisturbed at the pub. I had no right to do this. And then obviously he's waited until the media's calmed down about it. Fucking McGregor. What a cunt.
He's great entertainment.
He looks suspiciously massive at the moment.
Yeah, it's fucking huge. He's gonna knock everyone out.
Yeah. People keep posting his fucking shit on Reddit. He looks so fucking coked up just 24/7 at the moment. It's ridiculous.
I don't know if cocaine makes your muscles look that big.
No, but do you see the one where he's like just storming around like the toilet? I'm pretty sure you can even see the rails in the background, just looking big as fuck, like looking like maybe like 190, something like that. Just ridiculously fat. I don't know we all know what's going on with it. I can't wait for the end. I can't wait for the final fall from grace, and we just don't talk to him again, talk about him again until an ESPN documentary comes out in 10 years, and that's it.
Assuming that he doesn't fight Oliveira, because that would be bullshit, who should his next fight be? Max?
The scales.
Diaz?
I think he's taking on Usman at this time, no?
That would be a glorious death. Like, I mean, I'd almost give him respect for that, because I don't care whether you've earned it or not. I wouldn't want to fight Kamaru Usman. I certainly wouldn't want to fight Kamaru Usman if my whole career, the most success I ever had was at featherweight. I'd completely change my opinion. I don't think he deserves to fight Oliveira. I would fucking campaign to see him fight Usman. There's no negative.
No, Glover Teixeira. That should be his next fight.
Yeah, but that's just too ridiculous. Whereas he has technically fought at welterweight.
I'm just saying, those last few videos I saw, I think he's close to the 205. I think Glover Teixeira deserves a red panty night.
I think he'll beat Teixeira.
I was just thinking, I was like, he's going to be a lot fucking quicker than Glover.
Of course, he'll beat Glover.
Yeah, really?
Now, obviously, he'd lose because there's
that
a
weight.
cage. You know, McGregor could only run for so long. But if he had just an extra 40, 50 cubic meters of space, you know, Glover could be in trouble.
I don't know how light on his feet he is carrying all that extra weight.
He's still going to be lighter than fucking Glover, mate.
Especially with that.
Yeah, he's going to be lighter than Glover, but Glover doesn't need to be like as quick as him. Glover just needs to be able to ridiculously latch onto him at some point, which I think would definitely happen, even in a fucking gym hall. Just all the space in the world. I think eventually, if he's put on that much weight and thinks he can fight again, he's going to be so far behind the ball in terms of like similar to Chikadze. Your instincts tell you you're going to be able to do this, this, and this, and you're too tired and too slow. And all of a sudden, Glover's got it in the ground, and a la Anthony Smith, you're just handing your teeth to the referee, hoping that this ends soon. Just not a good look.
There's another potential option here. Kajudo wants to prove that he can fight bigger guys at a higher weight class. And he's looking for a fight that pays him what he thinks he's deserved. McGregor wants to fight a champion level fighter that he feels he can beat to get his groove back.
Yeah, why not?
Do it in Japan. Fuck the weight classes. Just show up and fight at whatever you are.
Gabby Garcia's the ref.
No.
No ref.
No, what's his face? Steve Mazzagatti.
No, I think Sly got it right. Steve Mazzagatti.
Steve Mazzagatti. Gabby Garcia can be one of the, I don't know. She can be a judge. They're not going to be necessary. But she can sit there with a pen and paper.
Gabby Garcia and two elderly women.
Hell, have celebrity judges. You know, Snoop Dogg, Chris Rock, Jake Paul.
All right,
Rock.
and you've lost me. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave. What did he say?
Are you saying you wouldn't watch a judging panel that had The Rock, Chris Rock, Snoop Dogg, and Jake Paul?
And Barack Obama.
Yeah, correct. And Barack Obama, did you say?
Yeah. Get him to ref a fight, man.
Get him to ref a fight
against Obama.
Did you see that, by the way? The two politicians in Brazil.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Wait, two Brazilians in Brazil had a fight.
Two politicians.
Two Brazilian politicians. Yeah.
Fuck.
No,
Was
they
it like
organised it.
an organised fight? Was it to lead the party?
I don't know. I can't remember. It was the mayor.
No, they're different parties.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the election?
Something like this.
No.
Oh, please tell me that they decide elections there now by
decided.
fights.
Nothing was decided, but they had beef, so they just settled it in the ring. But nothing was. There was no nothing on the line. Just a little fight. 3 rounds.
Okay.
It went to the judges.
Imagine if that's how politics started working again. It's like you just both have to put forward, each party puts forward their champion. And that person then is the leader.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get rid of Boris Johnson, I suppose.
Well, he definitely wouldn't be the leader if that was the criteria. He would not do well against, like, who are the candidates that could put up immediately? Anthony Joshua. I mean, Tyson Fury would be making a claim for his king. He's already a king in his mind. You look at it just like, oh, fuck Boris Johnson up right now.
Does that mean that Schwarzenegger becomes president of the United States?
Schwarzenegger hasn't still got it anymore.
Oof.
Who would be president of the United States?
Wilder.
No, I think
Steve
there's
Biko.
got to be like a 6'7" fucking monster on some defensive line that would just tear through everyone.
I mean, yeah, there's a bunch, but I'm just going to stick with the Eagles. So I'll say Jason Kelsey or Fletcher Cox.
Little too
Lane
slow.
Johnson. Oh, not American. Jordan Mailata would have been the obvious one. Who's like the biggest fucking tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, but I'd be looking at the guy that goes through those guys to get
Shaquille O'Neal. Guys, come on. Who the fuck is bigger than the Shaq?
How big's the Shaq?
The Shaq's fucking massive, mate.
7'1", like
Have you seen him
260.
being interviewed by Megan O'Leary at 5'1"? She literally is like reaching up to give him the mic, and her first
I think his
question-
wife's like 5'1" or something.
If it was
That's
like
Shaq's wife.
if the best fighter would be the president, then Jake Paul would be the president of the United States. No doubt.
All right, no, I'm going now.
Right, that's the end of the show, guys. Thank you very much
Right.
for watching. We'll be back with the pick show later this week.
Jake Paul still undefeated.
Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave.
Bye, Dave. Bye,
Catch you
Larry.
later, guys.
See you later.